All righty. And so the story of the morning, I guess, is Palantir. Actually, as I always refer to it as Palantir. Tia. Absolutely blew out earnings again. Up over 10%. But, put it in perspective, it's down from, its highs quite a bit. So, it's actually a nice relief, honestly. I mean, I have a decent amount of Palantir, so, that kind of really helps, actually. Like, I'm not going to deny it. There's some times when I smoke the opium, too, just like everybody else, because not everybody's right all the time. It's an amazing thing. I think you would never know that watching 80% or 90% of the influencers out there. But definitely a good base now developed here in Palantir, and it needs to hold, right? So it's about I would call it 150 if you want to put a number, round number on it, and it needs to hold there, before this goes higher. And it does look like it's, I'm looking at this like triple bottom, triple bottom, and with a real justified reason why it's bouncing, right? It's not just for bullshit. Good thing there, and I think it's a good thing for the market overall, especially after what we've been through. There is still kind of a catalyst, and I've been saying it for a couple of broadcasts now that the market is actually been needing some kind of catalyst. It has seemed to recover from last week's theatrics with all the gold blowing up and silver blowing up. But you look today and across the metal space in general, and it looks like nothing ever really happened. Right back up, we had a little bit of a rough patch yesterday, but today, you would never know. I mean, we're up almost 300 now on gold, getting near 5,000 again. I mean, do we get back there? I don't know. It just seems all the more reason why, the sell-off was more, it was pretty, I don't know. It's a weird thing. It's like that it happened the last day of the month of January, right? There's a lot of weird things, and I think it was more just people ringing the register, for whatever reason. And this is what happens with markets today. Things move so fast and so furious, and I embrace it because I think I think ripping the Band-Aid off is as much better, I think, even psychologically, than seeing and sitting through, if you look back and say, all right, would you have rather had all that give back in gold and silver in one day, 1 or 2 days, or would you rather sit through a week or 3 weeks or even a month of that? To me, that's worse. That's worse. I mean, if you're a bull on gold, which I still kind of am. I mean, I'm not a wingnut about it. I mean, I'm net long gold and silver. I got a decent amount in there. I'm not betting the farm on it. But I still think it does have room just because of the overall goings on in the world right now. I still think it's justified. But as I said, I think the play is copper also with a nice big bounce today, up 4%. So again, look at FCX. But, we're getting a lift across all tides today in the, I would call it the big tech space. Palantir's move is actually moving everything. Tesla I see is up pre-market. Bigger players, Google, Amazon, Mongo, and Microsoft, Oracle, and to a lesser extent, Apple having a great day yesterday. Apple was an incredible day yesterday. Big move in Apple. I don't even know, was it news based? I don't even know. I didn't really pay attention. I didn't really look at the news. I saw that it did go up pretty good, and I kind of was like, yeah, I was on the right side of the trade, so I didn't analyze it. But you are getting some ancillary moves to the upside from some of the players. But I think overall, Microsoft and Oracle just continue to be the two biggest pieces of shit on the planet. And Oracle looks like it's back to its old days, dating myself back when it would trade between $40 and $60 for decades and never go absolutely anywhere. I think now is... I think it's now back to that, and I think the new range is going to be from like 150 to 180, and I just don't even see it moving. Microsoft too seems to be in a heap load of shit too, and I actually got long Microsoft last week on that move down, and this doesn't even look good either. This looks like a massive piece of shit. So. And then the further you look back, the worse it gets. I mean, we are basically back to last year's levels in Microsoft. And so that kind of sucks. For me, anyway. So other than that, I had one trade yesterday in the Russell. I tried to short, and it didn't work out. I moved my stop pretty quickly to break even, and I kind of got out. I didn't really like the price action in yesterday at all. It just seemed very, I call it flighty, meaning that it just seemed like it didn't really have any momentum behind it, but it more looked like it was just that positive drift that you get in the market when there's not really like a lot of like overall participation in general. Even though we were up really big in the indexes, it didn't really feel like we were up yesterday, even though we were up quite a bit in the NASDAQ, Russell, Dow, I think was up 400 or 500, ES as well. I just didn't feel it. It did not feel like we were up. And it was more like, it felt like a holiday day kind of trade where we just drifted higher, where like the algos kind of took over. So that's kind of was the story there, and I kind of feel the same way today. We had a couple touches on R1 on the Russell overnight. I don't know if I'll be willing to take it again. I'm going to mark it. It's going to be one of those, I'm going to have to really feel it out on how it actually gets up there. If it gets up there relatively slow and we kind of have a nice slow grind up there, maybe to the open, I would look to take it. I'm not sure. I really don't. I don't like the price action right now. And so I'm likely going to pass on a lot of trades. I do like R2 though, 2686 looks pretty interesting to me here on the Russell. And so I'll mark that one. As far as if we get enough momentum where we start trading down to the downside here, I'd probably be very unlikely to take a trade and kind of buck the trend there. I think if we get any kind of momentum to the downside, I think they may look to, literally take a lot of things to the woodshed again. Seems like we're in a little bit of a woodshed type of trade to the downside. Right? I think we're going to continue this pattern where we're going to have these days where we just get completely whipped out on the downside and then have a couple of days, 2, 3, 4 days, whatever it is, probably about 3 or 4 where we get some upside days and kind of chew back what we did, netting us nowhere. Netting us net nowhere. I mean, again, that's just how I see things kind of going this month. It's just one of those things. And as far as crude oil, I kind of like crude oil long down here. Not even for a trade here in futures, but I do like crude oil in this spot for another leg up to at least test these previous swing highs here in this high 60. Because I'm targeting about, I'm not going to say 70, but I'm targeting about targeting about $68 to $69 in crude around by the and beginning mid-March or so. And I don't think it's going to be a real fast paced move, but I think we are going to get another leg up here because I think the demand for crude overall and its distillates, I think that's like due for a little bit of a rebound here. And I think as like more of these EPA standards begin to get rolled back, it's actually going to increase demand. Anyway, that's just what I'm seeing and like what I feel, in crude. But I do think we top out at about $68, between 68 and I would even call it 70. And I think then I think then we kind of set up for possibly a little bit of a ass whooping in crude. Outside of that, that's it. I really got not much going on. I'm going to do a couple of earnings trades coming up. Eating my orange here. We'll always refer to Bitcoin. I think this sucker's dead for a while. That's about it. That's all I'm going to say about that. Didn't do many trades yesterday. Basically only, oh, wow, great. Way to get logged out. Basically just did a lot of management yesterday. Yeah. So that's about it. I really don't have much else to say. I am going to be doing a little bit of CrowdStrike, I think, coming up. I know a couple of these have earnings coming up, like CoreWeave. I'm looking at that one. And then as far as like volatility plays, folks, that market in general, as far as volatility plays, is dead. It's dead. It's a dead. And the reason I say it's a kind of a dead trade, the volatility trade, kind of tasty trades, I guess, go to. I think it's dead because I'm just not seeing volatility is not expanding and contracting enough to justify these trades, and I'm seeing it in the trades that I've taken based on that. Volatility seems to be overall stagnant, which is like the most horrible of situations you can be in for being in a volatility trade. Like here's Datadog, right? You would think on the surface at a 61 IV rank, earnings coming up. I just can't bring myself to do anything in here because it just looks like everything is, again, it looks like so much is dead. Like there's not even any open interest in this stock at all. And you think there would be, given where it's come from. And it used to be such a great trading vehicle. Now it's like, dead. And I think there's a lot of people going through the same thing that I am now, is that this like sell volatility trade is like has never been more dead in the last 6 to 8 months. Since April, really. I mean, since April, it's been completely dead. And I got date back to last April, which is the whole, when we collapsed. And and bounce. Like we have not had anything. I mean, there's been some stuff here and there, but overall, and it sucks. And yeah, I've been forced to do other things that are now working. I'm doing a lot of calendar spreads. If you look at my position, a lot of calendar spreads. Those actually been working, and the reason those have been working is because I've been able to roll and manage them. You see, some of them aren't working. I mean, Netflix, I continue to get my ass handed to me. I'm long Microsoft. I'm getting my ass handed to me there. Oracle. I'm also in some options in Palantir. And I'm getting my ass handed to me in some stuff, and a lot of them are volatility plays, which is kind of like crazy. So anyway, with that being said, and I don't want to bash anybody either, but be careful with these so-called volatility plays right now in this market, because unless you're in the absolute perfect stock where you've caught it, where volatility was extremely high, and there's not too many of them out there, and you got a significant collapse in volatility, you're not making any money on those plays right now. And you can actually see, even from a trade perspective, on Tasty Live, they have not been putting on a lot of those traditional trades that you normally see them put on. And again, it's all because that the volatility play is just not there. I mean, although I think volatility is still at 18? Was it 18? I don't even know. I've been so disinterested because it's 17, almost 18, but it's it hasn't moved. I mean, it kind of goes up a little bit and it kind of quells to a point, and then it just dies, and then it sits and it sits and it sits. And it doesn't shrink and expand much at all. And it's really kind of killing that whole avenue of trade. So just be aware of it. 'Cause I have been getting some messages from people, saying hey, look, I sold some puts or I sold some calls, and, and the stock went in my direction, but I'm not really seeing any gains. Nothing's really moving. And it's because not only you got direction right, but the volatility is just not moving or in your underlying. So you're not going to, not that you're not seeing the gains, but you're not getting those percentage gains that you normally see when you take on those positions. And so you have to be aware of that, because then if a volatility spikes, and this is where a lot of people in this strategy, in that volatility strategy, get completely bamboozled, is when volatility does spike in a short period of time, and they're in all these short option trades that were done when volatility was 17 and 18, and now volatility is in the 20s, and then that volatility in that stock was maybe 20 or 30, and now it's 50, 60, maybe even 80, and you're just getting wrecked. And it's happening more and more, I think, to folks right now. And it's, just got to be aware that strategy is not something you do all the time, right? It's got its place. There's no question about it. It works, but, there's a place and time for that strategy. So anyway, that's it. That's all I got. I just wanted to call that out because, I do see, and I joined a Reddit group. Not like it's a cult or anything. It's just a community of a bunch of tasty traders. And it's funny, but a lot of the posts on there of late have been about the outages in and on Tasty Trade, between the one that happened last week and then the one earlier, late in the summer. I think it was back in August, where they had a bunch of outages, and that a lot of folks experienced what I experienced. I actually called the trade desk, and then nobody fucking answered the phone. Literally nobody answered the phone. I called 3 or 4 times. I didn't have anything to be concerned about. I just called just to see if I could get in touch with somebody. Because I always do that. It even happens with my Schwab accounts. When I see the market kind of go haywire, I always call to make sure that I can get in if something happens with the platform, that I can get out of positions. And I did not get anyone to answer the phone for literally almost 2 hours. That is horrible. That is absolutely horrible. So be aware of that. So there are a lot of internal problems going on, and I don't want to bash this company either, but there are a lot of internal things going on in here on that company that I think you just need to be aware of. Because it's been being exposed now that not only were they not able to handle the influx of calls, they really weren't able to fix the problem very fast at all. I mean, they literally wound up being down for about 4 or 6 hours. And I believe they have to pay restitution back for 2 folks. And I assume it's people who have a shit ton of money, right? Where like I was trying to get out of my positions and I couldn't use the platform. I couldn't even call somebody. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of legal. And if you noticed, they did pull. They were running those ads where if you referred somebody or you moved money over, you got all this money, like I think over 10,000, whatever. Right? If you noticed those ads, they actually, after that happened, they pulled that. That's gone. So there was a reason they pulled that, because they're going to have to now, they can't offer those savings now because they're going to have to pay. They're going to have to pay the customers that experienced issues for that outage that had problems. So, just something to be aware of. I mean, I don't think they're going to go under or anything. And if anything, likely they'll get bought by somebody, right? They'll get bought by somebody before they go under, I think. I mean, that would be my thing. I mean, overall, I have to say, I have been very happy with them up until about 6 months ago. 6 months ago, my spider sense been going off with this whole company. And then, Sosnoff leaving, and I think he left, and I've said this before, I think he left for other reasons than he just got bored. Just knowing how long he stuck around after TD Ameritrade was sold, or Thinkorswim, and he left to do this. Apparently, he signed a contract with them when he sold this that he can't go out and build another platform like he did with Thinkorswim. So they learned their lesson with that. So he's not. So I think he left for other reasons, and I don't know what they are. And I'm not trying to start rumors, but I do believe he left for other reasons. And go back and look if you're interested. There was one segment in his farewell thing where he mentioned there is a change in direction, and that statement kind of stuck with me since I watched that video. And he clearly says because there was a change in direction, and I think that is what happened. They changed basically what and where they're going as far as the platform is concerned, and I don't think he agreed with it. And so, being who he is, he was like, you know what, screw it, I'm done. And I don't think he left in a huff, but I think it was just one of those things all right, I made my money and, I'm gone now. And my opinion doesn't really matter anymore. And, whatever. So that's, another thing. And I can see it actually in anybody who watches Tasty Live will notice. To me, I've noticed right away there's been a kind of a big shakeup over there, because there's times when they can't even fill the airspace. There's just blocks of time where they just do rebroadcast. And I'm like, well, what happened to that show? That was always there was always something at 12 o'clock, or there was always something at 2 o'clock, and they always had somebody. And now it's it's a rebroadcast. And it might not even be the rebroadcast from the morning. It might be a rebroadcast from a couple of days ago. And I'm like, what's going on here? So I think there's a lot of things going on here. And I've actually looked at possibly moving some of my accounts out of here, which may do as well. But I just want to make everyone aware of that because if you haven't experienced it, there is some issues going on. So that's it. That's all I got. I rambled a lot this morning, but that's all there is. And I think there was just some news that came. I think there was some econ light stuff that came out today. Barkin. I guess no, it's coming up. The Jolts. That's the one. I knew there was something. I don't think it's a big deal, but it is something today. So that's it. So have a good one. Trade them tight, and basically everything going forward for probably the rest of the week is going to all hinge on earnings. So just be aware.